Hello everyone, it is Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Thank you for joining me in my little corner of the internet. And today we're going to flip through my pen and ink journals for 2025. I literally finished this like just the other day, and I think I finished this yesterday as well, and I'm excited to flip through it. So let's get started. I will save this one for last, but this here is a Hobonichi A5 notebook in a Galen leather A5 cover, and I'm trying to remember, this was the gray. Very descriptive. I know this was the gray, and it has held up. I love the way that it's patinaed over time, and it fits the Hobonichi A5 notebook in here really well. So let's go ahead and start flipping through here. Now, you don't see as many in here, but what I like to do in the front cover is keep all of the stickers that I've collected over the years. So this could be from pen shows, this could be from orders. And let me see if I can take this out actually. There we go. It's not as filled up as I'd like because this part of the cover is normally hidden by the pocket, but I remember getting some of these from like the Chicago Pen Show, the San Francisco Pen Show. These are from Julia here from the Chicago Pen Show. This is from White Bear Pens, Amarillo Stationery. This is from the Coffee Monsters Co., Stationery Universe. So there's quite a few in here, and a few from Rickshaw as well. And then this is from Ink Flow Repeat. We kept running into each other at the San Francisco Pen Show, and I was there for a few of her pen purchases, but she also kindly gifted me the monoline workshop because she couldn't make it, so I'm so thankful for that. And then some more stickers in here. So this is the sticker that I created for my collaboration with Zodiac Pen Co. Then we have Blackwater Craftworks. I met them in person at the Pacific Northwest Pen Show, and then saw them again at the San Francisco Pen Show. Then we have Heinz Pen Company, Kaleidocraft. This is from Inky Converters, and some more from Rickshaw. And then what I do at the beginning of every year is actually just take stock of all of the inks that I own. So these are all of the ink bottles. This stamp is from Everyday Explorers Co., I believe it is, and it's from one of their ink day, or one of their ink collections. And I like to be able to do this because it gets me to reevaluate or evaluate the collection that I currently have, and I write this out, or I swatch this out in alphabetical order by brand. Amazing. So I started the year off with 57 ink bottles, and then with ink samples, this is a little wooden stamp block that I got from Muse Pens, and it's amazing to me how I start the year off with so many samples, but it's so satisfying to be able to go through them and also look through, now that I'm looking through this, see what I've actually used versus what's still in my collection. Cool. So I started the year with 69 ink samples and 57 ink bottles. And then I decided to make note of all of the pens that I owned as of January 25th. And I did that as well in my new journal. And then I thought I would keep track of the pens I purchased and the pens I sold. Obviously, that did not go the way that I wanted it to, and that's okay. And then I was going to keep track of the inks that I purchased or was gifted. Yeah, that went as far as January 20th. I don't think, and actually looking back on this now, keeping track of it like that in the notebook is not something that's sustainable for me, but keeping track of it in my spreadsheet, that works wonders for me. So then I have here these monthly tabs, and as you can see, I didn't do November or December, but these monthly tabs were from my sticker shop, which is now closed, but I want to use what I have basically left in my collection. So here is the first January currently inked, and these were stickers from my sticker shop, and this stamp is also from Everyday Explorers Co. And I remember when I did this, I was like, I completely forgot how to do a currently inked. But the way that I do a currently inked is I do a swatch, and then I do the pen and ink combination. I used to use this stamp as well, and I don't use it anymore. And then I rate the ink, the flow, the comfort level of the pen, and then do a little description. And it's nice to look back on this and see what I liked and what I didn't like. And then I guess just as a overarching statement about my pen and ink journal, this is all chronological. There isn't specific pages just for pens or specific pages just for currently inked. It's basically a chronological record of my pen and ink usage over the year. And then here, got this lovely letter from Tori when I received the Mayfair Pens Noldor in the Star of Arundel. I also dated it as well. And then I kept track of my winter sunrise. So when I get a new pen, I keep track of it with this pen profile stamp from Everyday Explorers Co. Then I also do little ink swatches as well. And I use a date stamp to keep track of the dates for most things in here. Then I have new ink from PenChalet, and the date is not always the date that I purchased it or received it. It's the day that I end up doing the swatches. I love Nightingale in the Rose, Monteverde Moonstone. I ended up giving away Ink Studio 280 and 273. Love these two. And then Private Reserve Avocado was a freebie that I got, and I ended up giving that away. Then I started doing my color ink explorations to see how much of each color family I have, and red is not one that I have a lot of, but this one, even when I look at the different color families, some don't really fit into the specific category. And I mean, like Andorrelian Pompadour Cotinga Burgundy is more burgundy and leaning more towards the purple. But what do I still have out of here? I think I still have Cabernet on the Lake, Red Dragon, and possibly Wearing Gold Dracula. Oh, and sorry, the Pompadour. So maybe I have 4 of these, and the other 4 I've used or given away. I can't remember if I still have that one. Can't remember. Then I have here a lovely set of inks that I got from Pam, and Pam has she's just so kind and has the great capacity to be able to send me letters, even though I don't always send letters back. But she also sent me a whole bunch of inks to try as well, and also inks from Cult Pens that I purchased. And then I did my progress update for January. And then moving on to February, I did my currently inked. I inked 12 pens in February, which some of these, like some people would probably think that's a lot of pens to ink up, but for me, I rotate them between my work notebook, my journal, and a little bit in my planner, but also in my doodle book, which I will show when we're done. And then inks from Kristen. I love being able to put the letters from the person who sent me the inks as well. I think it just brings the page together, and it's also partly, this is a journal, so I'm going to add different pieces in here that will evoke that memory. So she sent me a whole bunch of lovely brown and pinkish brown inks. That Kobe milk chocolate ended up being a big purchase of mine this year because I ended up buying that at the San Francisco Pen Show. Kamoshika, I'm very tempted to buy that one in a bottle, and then possibly 373, but we'll see. One thing I'll say to this is that, like, I am always grateful for anyone in the fountain pen community who sends me inks, because I love that you have all grown to know my tastes over time, sometimes better than I do. And then here we have, when I do a pen purchase, I'll normally do a pen profile for it, but also if I'm comparing, this one was a comparison of the Pilot Vanishing Point to the Mahjong A1 and the Jinhao 10. And then here I did an orange ink exploration. I don't have a lot of oranges, but I now have Steinmine Sepia, Autumn Oak, Ancient Copper. I don't have Brune Eiffel anymore. And I still have these 3. But yeah, orange isn't an ink that I normally go for, but it's always interesting to do an orange ink exploration or just a color family ink exploration and see what I have in my collection. Taking a little break to sip some eggnog latte from my Santa mug. Next, I have here the 8 more pen questions. Simona had, along with other people in the Discord, created other questions for 8 more pen questions. And I love things like this because it allows you to really get to know other people and their preferences in the fountain pen hobby, but also it makes you really think about what you like and what you don't like and why you're in this fountain pen hobby. But also some of the questions in here, if you could only use one ink for the rest of your life, like, why would you make me choose that? Why? So then the next page here we have inks from Kat, and it included this beautiful, lovely letter, and I actually pasted the envelope in here as well because it's just so gorgeous, but I had to hold it down with a paper clip because it was heavy and I didn't want it flapping everywhere. But Kat sent me some gorgeous, gorgeous inks, and I'm just thinking here, I'm looking through all of these. These are lovely. Ooh, lavender haze. It's always nice to go back to some of these because I'm thinking maybe I should repurchase them. I still have Wearing Gold Atlas, a little bit of that left in a sample, so I might use that in February for winter. And then another pen profile when I purchased the TWSBI Eco in Espresso Bronze, and then my stats for February. And then in March, I thought I would try and do a little graph of how often I was using a specific pen and ink combination. And this was actually really fun for me, but I didn't end up ever repeating it. So I wrote down all of the pen and ink combinations here, and then when I say J or W, journal or work, and then the dates up at the top here. And it was really interesting for me to see what I used when, and it was a fun practice. Maybe it's something that I'll try and do again this year, but yeah, really fun, really fun. And then my progress update for March. My March currently inked. I'm just playing around with different ways I'm going to do the swatches. So this one was done with a Speedball B nib as well as my Kakimori stainless steel nib. I'm just looking through these here. Weeping Willow, Harvest Moon, Milk Chocolate. Love that one. I love Tyrian Purple. And then getting into the spring inks here, we've got Diamond Meadow. Eau de Nil was really nice. Amazing Amethyst is one of my favorites. And then I still have this one, the L'Écritoire Encre Prune. Oh, and then rules for pen and ink buying. This is actually going to come sooner this year. These are basically going to be my goals that I set for myself and the rules that I set for myself when it comes to pen and ink buying. Now, these are rules for myself, and I mean they're arbitrary rules, but they're rules that I set for myself so that I'm being very intentional about my purchases. So rules for buying, and caveats to this: no buys do not work for me. Basically, as soon as you tell me that I'm not able to do something, then that's what I want to do. So no buys definitely don't work. And then no guilt, because this is supposed to be a fun hobby. We shouldn't be feeling guilty about these. And I like having this because it really puts things into perspective for me. Then more inks from Kat. Kat sent me a huge package, and it took me a few of these to be able to swatch all of them, but I'm so glad and so grateful for Kat sending all of these through to me. And then more pen profiles. So when I received or purchased the Esterbrook Estienne Tortoise, and then the Pilot Kakuno in the Mataromi Pink with the Pilot Iroshizuku Shiongyo. Oh, gorgeous. And then I did the yellow ink exploration, and this one's kind of like, are they yellow? I don't know. And then Fountain Pen Superlatives. This one was inspired by Grace of Wildly Imaginable, and I'll be doing this again actually this month. It's always interesting to look at your pens and your pen collection and how much of this has changed. And then my spring inks. It's always fun for me to do spring inks, and I did this actually on the first day of spring, being able to then go back into my light and fun springy colors versus the more moody and dark winter inks. Then we have my brown pens. Wow. Do I still have all of these? I don't have that one. I don't have that one. Oh, okay, so there's only two that I no longer have, but I've probably increased the number of brown pens that I have anyway in my collection. Interesting. And then we have the pen profile for the Lebrun Rosa Cracked Ice. If you're ever interested in any of the videos of my new pen day, I have a pen list of just all of my fountain pens, so go ahead and check that out. I'll include a link to that in the description below. Oh, and then I pasted this page here into my 15 inks 30 days because I wanted to see one page of all of the inks together. I actually really like doing 15 inks over 30 days. It really allows me to not just rush through the process, but be able to focus on a pen and ink combination for 2 days. Ooh, I really like that Icy Moon. That's a really pretty color. And then this is where I decided to try and find a dupe for Pilot Iroshizuku Inaho. And this was the first instance of that. So the Inaho's up here, and probably the closest one, and I look back on this now, the closest one would probably have been Van Diemen's Aria out of all of this. Don't worry, do another one later down the road. And then I tried to do a dupe of the Ferris Wheel Press Buttered Popcorn. And the closest, when I look back on all of this, the closest is actually either Diamine Amber or Robert Oster Sunset, like that diagonal. Very good, very good. And then the pen profile for my Esterbrook Esty for the Coffee Monsters Co. And then all of my green inks. I say that I don't like green inks as much, even though green is a favorite color of mine out in the real world, outside of fountain pens. But seeing the greens here, there's some that are very similar, and I know my green ink collection will probably be different this year, so I may do these these ink color family explorations again. Let me know if you want to see what my color families look like this year. I may do this every year. It's just great to take stock of what you have. Then we go into May. So this was the state of my collection for May, or as of May 31st. And then we have my May currently inked. I can see that I stopped using the stamp here because I think I wanted to get into it, and I didn't want to do all of the finicky little things anymore. And then getting ready for the Chicago Pen Show. This was from the Coffee Monsters Co. I printed off the map and forgot that there was a whole other room in the basement, but I printed off the map and tried to get basically everyone that I wanted to see and the nibs that I wanted to work on, what I wanted to try. And I love having a page for the pen show here. And then a sticker from Lexi of Lip Gloss and Lattes. Ooh. And then I can't remember who I received this from, but I thought it was just such a beautiful drawing of the Chicago skyline. And then the pen profiles of all the pens that I purchased from the Chicago Pen Show. I purchased 6. That's crazy. Alrighty. And then all of the inks that I got from the Chicago Pen Show, Amarillo Stationery inks, and then the Andrelium Tulip Moth Warm. And then I was contacted by Waringle, and they wanted to send me some of their inks that I could try. So I tried Purgatorio, Autumn Night After 1,000 Years, The Star Child, No Longer Human, and Persephone. And then I also swatched all of the other Waringle inks that I currently own. And wow, love them. Persephone is probably still one of my favorite inks ever. Then I did a blue ink exploration, and I'm still very surprised with how many blue inks I have, but these are all so different, so why wouldn't I own every single one of them? And then I did a pen profile for the Asfine V126 in the fine nib. First vacuum fill pen that I've ever tried, and it was really interesting to try as well. And then I received the Diplomat Viper in the brown, and just doing a little ink exploration of the KWZ It Smells Like Coffee, as well as the Esterbrook and Coffee Monsters Co. Forgotten Iced Coffee. Then we go into June, and we've got another 15 inks, 30 days. And instead of doing just a regular ink grid swatch, I decided to do these all in roses. So days 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15. And I really like how 15 inks, 30 days turns out in my book. There's something so satisfying about being able to see those numbers and those swatches. I love it. And then a pen profile on the Asfine P20 as well. And then I got inks from a few friends, so Roxy, Eileen, and Shazia, and I put a note here. Oh, it's upside down because the note opens like that. And then I swatched all the inks. There were so many beautiful inks that I received. I'm so grateful for all of them, and even more inks over here. And then I did the teal and turquoise family. And then more inks from Roxy. I had so many inks from Roxy. Thank you so much. And I think I'm still working through some of them to put them in a pen. And then my second attempt at doing a pilot Iroshizuku Inaho exploration. And I think I found a little bit more similar inks. So Colorverse Taepyeong Cheongdae was very similar, but also I did some ink mixing with Kirisame, Yuyaki, Chikurin, and Seoro as well, and trying to come up with different combinations there. And then 15 inks, 30 days for July. As you can tell, I didn't do my progress reports basically for the second half of the year, and that's when I think my numbers started to get a little wonky. So 15 inks, 30 days, Again, really enjoy the whole process of this, and it allows me to really use a lot of pen and inks, but keeping them to 15 makes it sustainable for me. More inks from Roxy. And Roxy, thank you so much for introducing me to that Tono and Lims ink, because now I have a bottle. And then I decided to do a state of my collection as of June 30th. And I think these numbers were still not as accurate as I'd like them to be. Oh, interesting. The number of pens that I was at as of June 30th was 58, which is how I ended 2025. So interesting. Basically, going from June 30th to December 31st, my number didn't actually increase, but that's because the number that I probably purchased was equal to the number that I sold. More pen profile. So we've got the Bennu Talisman, my Wanshire Pro Gear, and my Esterbrook Niblet, and all of my purple inks. I didn't realize I had so many purples, but can you see how they're all different? Of course I would own all of these. Then we have my August currently inked. I decided not to do 15 inks 30 days for this because we were going on vacation, as well as I was going to the San Francisco pen show. And then pen preferences. Lau of Kenshan Crafts did this, and it was interesting because it was one of those either or questions. You had to pick one or the other, not a it depends, or all of them, which is how I normally like to answer my questions. And this was really interesting to see. And then my pink inks. I was surprised I didn't have more of these. I was surprised that I had more purple than pink, but I think I'm getting to the point with my pink inks that I know what I like. I have them in my collection that I don't need to own anymore. Then I was going to go through all of my inks and do kind of an inventory of all of the inks that started with the letter A. I didn't get very far. And then here are 2 new inks that were sent to me by my dear friend Tori of Stationery Universe. I got to try Morning Morpho and Midnight Morpho. I have to be very intentional with how I say that because sometimes it comes out as Morning Mofo. Yeah, whatever. And then I did a little exploration of the pen and ink that I use most. And then we are into September. September, I really wanted to do 15 inks 30 days, but because I came back so sick from our vacation as well as the San Francisco Pen Show, this was all, I say this was all, but this was what I was comfortable working with for the month of September. And then I swatched all the inks that I got from San Francisco. So the ones that I purchased, but also some that friends gave to me. And then all the pens that I did end up purchasing at the San Francisco Pen Show, including the Hachimonjia Sailor Pro Gear in the Kubozakura Bloom Pink. And then my ink exploration of all of my gray inks. I don't have a lot of these because gray is not a color that I normally go for. And then all of my Diamine inks. I'm really happy with Diamine as a brand, and I'm surprised I don't own more, but no, I don't need any more. I'm happy with what I have, and this Diamine is one of my favorite brands of ink because they're so well priced, but also their shimmers work so well, and they're really well behaved inks. Love them. Have nothing bad to say about Diamine. And then I had an order from PenChalet where I just wanted to try these Sailor inks, and they're gorgeous. I got another bottle of Kitsune Biori, one of my most favorite inks, and then Sailor Manyukuri. I tried this in a sample, love it, may get a bottle. And then my progress update for the end of September. So maybe I was doing these quarterly, and then I think, yeah, I went from 58 to 55 pens, and my ink bottle is definitely going up. And then I finally had the energy to do 15 inks 30 days for October. Love that. I was using Ferris Wheel Press Lady Rose in gold, which I have a very tiny sample left of after this, and I love it. Love it. I know that sometimes you want to hoard an ink that is limited edition and you no longer want to use it, but I'm so glad that I used this, and I also used it in my A6 Hobonichi 5-year journal. So now that, I mean, I've used it in a place that I'm going to look back on it pretty consistently. Love it. Ooh, these are so pretty. And then I did my favorite fall inks, which very fall inspired, but also hasn't changed too much from when I did this last year. Then A local friend sent over a bunch of inks for me to try, and a lot of kitty ink pot inks, which I have never been able to, well, I've only received samples of, but I was so glad I was able to try these. And then I did a video of my favorite ink swatching tools, including the sandwich bag. And then after I did this, I'm like, oh, it looks like a face. And then some new pens, so my Pilot Kakuno in the Madarome Brown, the Benu Oat Luster, and then my first purchase from Yumiko of Good Pen Life, which was the Platinum Hachimonjia in the Hatsuyuki. And then all of my brown inks. This still surprises me that I have as many brown inks as I do. Yeah, I didn't ever think that I would love brown inks, but wow. I'm pretty impressed with this collection. Although I will have to do this again just to see if I still have all of these or if I still love all of them. And even going back to these, have I actually used the ones that I've swatched here? And if I haven't, what am I gonna do with them? Do I need to keep them or do I need to pass them on? Then I swatched all of my Ferris Wheel Press inks. After I did this video, I realized I forgot to swatch Ferris Wheel Press Buttered Popcorn, which I still have. It's a great yellow ink. Then we have my currently inked for November, which is very shimmery. My inks from Ina. Ina and I met one afternoon. She was visiting from the Philippines and was basically in Edmonton for a few hours, and she met me at the mall. She gave me some leather covers that she was working on, plus these inks, and she and I just basically chatted for a good couple of hours. We've never met outside of Instagram, but as soon as we saw each other that day, it's like we'd known each other forever. And then I did a comparison of the Jinhao 20 to the Jinhao 10 and how they performed over the course of a few days. And then my pen profile on the Aurora 88. I did a lot of extra pen writing in here after the video because I was tuning and smoothing it, and now it's actually, it writes to the way that I like it. And then the profile for the Asfine C80, which highly recommend that pen. And then all of my Pilot inks. That was the first video that I did. And then I realized I missed a few, so I did a whole other video. So I filmed this, looked back on it and realized I missed at least, let's see here, looks like there's 12 there, but there's also 12 here, but I know there were some missing in this, or I screwed it up. I don't know. I don't know why I decided to refilm this, but I did. And then my order, my haul from So and So. So this was part one of that ink haul that I purchased. I purchased 12 inks, and then they also sent me a mystery ink as well. Highly recommend So and So from Australia. I mean, the shipping is going to be a little bit higher, but they have a great selection of kitty ink pot inks. Then my pen profile for my Winter Sunrise Memento Zero Grande 2.0. My videos on my top 3 steel nibs and top 3 gold nibs. And then swatching all of the shimmer inks that I currently own. Wow. Didn't realize I had so many, but if you know me, I love my shimmer inks and they work really well in my extra fine and fine nibs. A lot of people unfortunately don't have that same luck that I do, but these are the inks that work really well for me in terms of shimmer. Then we have my December currently inked, my favorite inks for 2025, my pen profile for the Platinum Kobayashi Saruga Bay, the fountain. Basically here I made a list of all the fountain pens that I purchased or acquired in 2025, the pens that I sold in 2025, my top 5 pens for 2025. This was not some artistic decision. This was just a drop of ink that fell on the page and I was like, whatever. And then my progress update for 2025. And then I know Simona asked me actually what I was doing with the last few pages in here. I actually cut out the signature and I now have those pages held together by a paper clip, and I'm going to be using them for my pen and ink journal, the paper swatches in 2026. So that is the journal, but now I know part 2 here. We're going to flip through this. This is a Hobonichi A6 Hone. This is from 2024. And I use this for the pen and ink explorations. Look at how thick this is. I mean, that is chunky, and I love it. I love it. So we'll try and go through this as quick as I can here. So at the beginning of the month, I end up just writing out all of the pen and ink combinations, and then I do paper swatches as well as a Zentangle or a doodle. Many of these doodles are from Barney Kakarni on Instagram, and I've left their Instagram handle in the description below. Gorgeous. I love being able to do these Zentangles because it really allows me to use the pen and ink combination in a different way outside of just using them for notes or journaling. But also I feel like you're using a lot more ink when doing these doodles. Oh, Masquerade is stunning. Stroke of Midnight. Armadillo, or Armadillo, which is a beautiful ink, but I found that actually Birmingham Penco inks did not work well in my journal. And then just a few ink splatters, trying to do the florals that Corolla does, and then roses, really just trying to use up all the pages in here. And then February, Cashmere Rose. This was a mix of Monarca Cardona, Tiara Colorada, and Ferris Wheel Press Steeped Umber, because that's all I had left of those. Did not swatch that one. Monarca Ray Jaguar. I love this yellow ink, and unfortunately it is no longer being produced. Diamine Sepia, gorgeous honey brown yellow. But also I love the texture of the pages once they have all of these papers in them and all of the painting, and it's just the way that these pages crinkle. I love it. Maybe I'll just do that. Maybe I'll just, wow. Okay, this ink, the Robert Oster and Atlas Sidewalk Gum, gorgeous ink, had the potential to be a fantastic ink, but the shimmer particles drove me nuts. Clogged my pen. Dominant Industry, Dutch Moorland. Oh, I love that. I love that. I need to do that more. Then we have March. Ooh, I really like that one. And that's with an extra fine nib on my Waterman Karen. And that's an extra fine nib on the the Eco. This was in the needle point. I love being able to do the really tiny detailed Zentangles with a needlepoint nib or a fine nib, because just the detail in it and the lines going over and over again is something that's so appealing to me. And then when I have slightly broader nibs, that's when I love it, when the ink pools in the corners and I can do like slightly different designs. So I decided here, I'm like, I'm not gonna fill every page, and that's okay. And then we have Buttered Popcorn. Ooh, Ink Studio 273. Like, see here, I put a shimmer ink in a fine nib, a narwhal fine nib, and look at the way that that Zentangle looks. I love it. Oh, the Lavender Coral, Robert Oster Hemp. One of the things that I also enjoy about these Zentangles is that it really shows you that the ink swatch can look so different from when you're actually writing with it, and you know, with a extra fine or a fine nib. There's so many complexities when you swatch it on different papers, but then when you're actually writing with it, you may not see those differences. So that should help in deciding whether or not to purchase an ink, because the swatch may look beautiful, but over time in an extra fine or a fine nib, they're all gonna start to look the same after a while. Ooh, Linen Toolbar Sesame Oil, English Milk Tea. Funny that I just said that. They're brown and they look slightly, this was a lighter, definitely lighter than English Milk Tea. Oh, Kitsune Biore, one of my favorites. Le Bon Aphrodite, definitely looks more red in the Zentangle. Ooh, it's so cool being able to go back and see all of these inks that I've used, because this will definitely be a great catalog, but also for me, It's a way that I was able to use up my pens and inks outside of just journaling or planning. Oh, Amarillo Stationery. Autumn Night After 1,000 Years. But what I like also about the doodles, oops, that's great. The doodles is that it really does showcase the shimmer and the shading. I don't have a lot of inks with sheen. I don't actually think I have any right now with sheen, because sheen is not a favorite property of mine in inks because I am light sensitive. So they give me headaches. So I don't really have inks with sheen in them. Ooh, Forgotten Iced Coffee. It's a really interesting one. Like, look at how different it looks here. And then Purgatorio. Ooh, that is a lot of shimmer. I love that. I love how the shimmer pooled in all of those corners. And then Soft Pretzel. If there are any of these inks that you are interested in, go ahead and pause the video, because I'm not going to mention every single one of these, but pause the video, and all of the pen and ink names are going to be up here in the corner, so you can pause the video and zoom in and take a screenshot. Ooh, Frosted Orchid was a fun one. Vera Atlantide, I think I still have some of that sample left. Inkabara Brown Pink, Diamine Amber. I have a bottle of this now. This definitely looks more green than Inaho. Blue Eyed May. Oh no, I never wrote the name of this one. Hold on. I didn't write the name of that one. Oh well. And then August. Oops, come on. Ooh, Sakushi. Look at how different Sakushi looks on your Rofel paper versus all of the other ones. And then 12th Night, very light ink. Kitten Paws, oh, I loved this one. Tamar Pinot Noir. Yuyaki. I think there was a little shimmer left over in the pen from the previous ink that I had in here. Inkabara Earth. Crocodile Green from Robert Oster. I loved the Wancher Frozen Sake with Kitty Inkpot Dissipate the Mist. Very pretty. The Tono and Limbs Boundary Between Like and Dislike. Diamine Deck the Halls. Love this one. Then we'll go to September, and you can tell how chunky this side is getting already. And we've got my Sailor Hachimonjia with Kobe Strawberry Chocolate. Ooh, Tono and Limbs Rhodolite Garnet. New Year, oh, Robert Oster, New Year, New Hue. Okay. This is, again, a very pretty ink, but I find Robert Oster shimmer inks, their shimmer particles are slightly larger, which always end up clogging my pens. Dominant Industry Maple. Oh, Diamine Dusted Truffle. One thing I will say, or another thing I will say about the Zentangles is that you really have to let go of perfection with these, because, oh, I love doing these circles. Because your lines are never going to be perfectly straight. Your circles are never going to be completely the same across. Oh, this one was fun. That was fun. And every line is going to be slightly different, and that's okay. And I think that's what's the fun thing about the doodles and the Zentangles, is that you have to let go of that perfection, but also just focus on the practice of doing the doodle yourself. Oh, I love that. Oh, this was Diamine Sepia with my Jinhao 10. Oh, this was fun. Tono and Limbs, the Earth Contact, or the Phospholite. I can't remember. I didn't like this doodle as much, and I'm still deciding or debating whether or not I'm going to keep Diamine Ancient Copper. Oh, Sailor Manyukuri. Love this ink so much. Then Riverbank. The Van Diemen's chromo shading ones that I got at the San Francisco Pen Show were all awesome. Oyster Hour, Underflow, Sailor Ancora Rainy Day ink. Eileen purchased this for me, or gave me a sample from her visit to Japan, and Ancora only ever put this ink for sale when it's raining. and then Kirisame, and then we're into November. Diamine Yule Log, Wine Divine, Taranishi Opera Rose. So interesting how it looks orange on these three papers and definitely more pink on these two. Burma Tourmaline, gorgeous ink, gorgeous ink. Elegy of the Fallen, Warringal Path, fun ink, but this is really a punch you in the face with shimmer. Ostrich ink, Sycamore Tree, lovely ink, but a little bit light. Manyo Nagi, Tono and Limbs Labradorite. I had to, this was the only Zentangle or Doodle that I didn't finish because the shimmer in Labradorite was just driving me nuts. And then we have Shuyang Forest. I love this one. I love the way this shades, but just in a pen, it looks more blue-gray or purple-gray. Diamine Harmony. Loved this one. And then Diamine and Ink Dependence Trust of Bivalve. Fun, but the shimmer was a little bit inconsistent. And then lastly, we'll get to December. We have Workshop of Wishes. I loved the way this one turned out. And then Colorverse Manuscript, Red Dragon, Bah Humbug, Diamine Bah Humbug, Diamine Party Time, Shockwave Meadow. Gosh, the consistency of the shimmer in here was outstanding, but it's just too much. Lennon Toolbar Bird Monster, Monteverde Stephanie Blue, Kitty Inkpot Half Spring Break, Kitty Inkpot Moon Jellyfish Travel Journal, Robert Oster Ube Truffle, and Diamine Memory Lane. So yes, there's still a few empty pages in here, but I won't bother myself too much about finishing them. Whew, all right, so that is, or those are my ink journals, pen and ink journals for 2025. I appreciate you sticking around for all of that. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching and have yourselves a great day.